The category is science, and the answer is the science of living things, the study of plant and animal life. The correct question, of course, what is biology? Hello, everyone. I'm Alex Trebek, host of Jeopardy, where we test your knowledge by giving you the answers and asking you to come up with the correct questions. If you're as excited about questions and answers as I am, then you don't want to miss this episode of the NASA Sci Files, as the Treehouse detectives help Jacob learn the answers to his questions about staying healthy. Stay tuned and learn more about math, science, and technology with the Treehouse detectives in the NASA Sci Files, the case of the biological biosphere.
To the following questions. What is agar and what is it used for? How are bacteria and viruses different? How does a quarantine work? When you see this icon, the answer is near.
Hey, RJ. I was just checking on my itinerary and stuff for my vacation next week.
Cool. Where are you going?
You won't believe it. I'm going to be spending a few days in the glorious dry Tortugas.
I hope you don't get sick before you go.
What do you mean, get sick before I go?
Oh, nothing. My Uncle Babar got sick before we went deep sea fishing one year. He missed everything. His whole vacation was ruined.
Oh, man. I can't get sick. My sister was coughing at the breakfast table this morning. I can't go home.
Of course, there's a time that my sister got Montezuma's revenge on Christmas. Dude, it wasn't pleasant.
The treehouse. I'll go to the treehouse. Send a flash priority message to all the treehouse detectives to meet at the treehouse. If any of them think they even might be sick, stay away. Got it?
No problem.
Calm down. Calm down. You're not gonna get sick. You're not gonna get sick. You're not gonna get sick. 98.6. Perfect. So far, so good.
Hi, Jacob.
Wait, stop. Did you guys get RJ's message?
We got the message.
No, wait. If you're sick, under the weather, or not feeling well, I'm gonna have to ask you to leave. Or at least keep your distance.
As usual, I'm in perfect health and illness-free.
Catherine?
Except for a few soccer bruises, I'm just fine. But don't you think you're being a little paranoid?
Sorry to be so serious, but I don't want to get sick before my trip.
You can't just avoid all contact with people.
I don't want to avoid everyone, just everyone who's sick.
That's impossible.
How do you know who's sick and who isn't?
I was thinking about a quarantine, like the astronauts do before they go into space. Maybe I'll just stay in the treehouse until my trip.
We're too late. He's already delirious.
I think it's a great idea.
Wait, Bianca!
Don't worry, Jacob. RJ told me all about your problem. In fact, I'm doing a report on how people respond to different environments. If you quarantine yourself, you can be my subject.
I've always wanted to donate my body to science.
I'm not sure staying in the treehouse is such a great idea. We don't even have a bathroom.
I've got it all taken care of. I can use the bathroom in Dr. D's lab, and my mom can send meals over. It's really no different than camping.
I don't know. This idea seems pretty half-baked to me.
No, it's fully baked.
And it's perfect for my project. Would you mind going to the Sci Files website and printing off a problem statement map? It'll help me organize how I'm going to keep track of you and your progress.
Guys, KSNN is coming on.
Good morning, I'm Ted Toon. It's cold and flu season once again. For a live report, we go live to I Am Listening, who's live at the Centers for Disease Control in Atlanta. Sorry, folks, Ted Toon again. Apparently I Am has come down with the case of microphone flu. But don't worry, the CDC tells me that the microphone flu only affects, animated news reporters? Uh-oh.
This is exactly what I'm talking about. It isn't safe out there.
It may not be safe in here.
He's right, Jacob. You're jumping to conclusions. We don't even know how you catch the flu or any other illnesses.
If you want to stay infection-free, we need to do some research.
Let's go to the problem board.
Do you really think the scientific method can help you avoid getting sick?
The scientific method is an excellent tool for solving problems, even this one.
Okay, now that we've identified the problem of keeping Jacob well, we need to conduct research. What do we know?
We know that I need to stay healthy for the next 3 days.
And we know we're approaching the flu season.
We also know that I want to quarantine myself in the treehouse.
Okay, so what do we need to know?
We need to know what the flu is and how it's spread.
And we also need to know more about quarantine.
Right. So where do we go?
KSNN mentioned something about the CDC.
Right, the Center for Disease Control in Atlanta, Georgia.
Wow. How did you know that?
I remember reading about it in a stockholder's report on some biomedical companies I'm evaluating.
Jacob, check the internet. Maybe you can find a contact person for the CDC.
Let me go to a search engine. I'll type in CDC. Here we go. The Center for Disease Control in Atlanta, Georgia.
Check and see if they have a Contact Us link.
Yeah, they do. And hotline numbers, too. Maybe I'll give them a call.
I don't think it's an emergency.
Oh, here we go. We can email questions. I'll see if someone can help us.
I'm going to meet Dr. D today at the Virginia Marine Science Museum at 2:30 this afternoon. Maybe he can help.
I think Haley is in Atlanta visiting family. Why don't you send her an email and see if she can go to the CDC?
Great. I'll also forward her a Get Up and Go sheet from the NASA Sci Files website. You can get your own Get Up and Go sheets from the problem board when you visit the NASA Sci Files website.
I wonder where Dr. D is.
Well, you never know with Dr. D.
Wow, someone's in the aquarium.
Dr. D? Dr. D, what were you doing swimming in the aquarium?
I was helping clean the Chesapeake Bay Aquarium here at the Virginia Marine Science Museum. I understand you're trying to help Jacob stay well before he goes on his vacation.
Yes, we've learned about all kinds of ways the diseases can be transmitted, so Jacob quarantined himself in the treehouse.
I've got just the thing for you to test your treehouse.
Test it for what?
This will be a test to see if the treehouse is free from airborne microbes.
What's a microbe?
Microbes are very small organisms, too small to see without a microscope. Microbes like bacteria, fungi, and viruses sometimes cause disease.
So how do we do the test?
This is called a petri dish. All you have to do is take it to the treehouse tonight and leave it open for 10 minutes.
Oh, what's the stuff at the bottom of the dish?
It's called nutrient agar. It's food for microbes. When microbes like bacteria or fungi land in the dish, they multiply and grow. Each microbe will grow into a colony.
Wow, will we be able to tell what grows in the dish?
Yes, let the microbes grow until tomorrow. You'll be able to go by and see my friend, Mr. Frank, biologist at Tidewater Community College. He'll be able to show you what microbial colonies look like and help you count the colonies.
I have an idea. Can I have a second dish to take to Jacob's house so we can see if the treehouse has more or less microbes and he would get it home?
Sure, that's an excellent idea.
But how do we know that the petri dish doesn't already have microbes growing in it right now?
Good question. What you need is a third dish that you never open. This will serve as a control.
And in the experiment, you need to have only one variable. We'll need to keep the exposure times the same in both petri dishes and use the same kind of microfood.
That's nutrient agar.
Right. And make sure nothing is already growing in the dish. Then you'll have a carefully controlled experiment.
If we can prove that there are no airborne microbes that can cause illness and keep all infected people out,
then we can be totally sure that Jacob will stay well.
Now wait a minute. Totally sure? I don't think you can do that.
What do you mean?
Well, sometimes if you miss a small detail, it can become a major problem. This is called the butterfly effect.
Butterfly effect?
Yes, Edward Lorenz, who is a pioneer in chaos theory, once gave a talk entitled Predictability as the flap of a butterfly's wing in Brazil set off a tornado in Texas. Let me show you. I'm going to try to release this ball exactly the same way each time. Well, let's try it again. Look at how little variations in the beginning make a big difference in the end.
Does that mean that our mission to keep Jacob well is impossible?
No, it just means it's not as easy as you think to have complete control. You can stay away from crowds, but for example, you can't stop breathing.
Oh, I get it. There are just so many factors.
There are also a lot of internal things to consider, like how the body fights diseases.
You mean like whether or not we've had a disease before?
And whether we've taken any medications.
And if we have good genes?
Yes, those are a few.
Thanks, Dr. D. It sounds like we need to investigate this a little more.
You're welcome. Let's get some more Petri dishes.
Hi, I'm Kaylee, one of the treehouse detectives. You must be Dr. Beck Sage.
Yes, I am. How can I help you?
My friend Jacob is planning a vacation, but he's worried that he might get sick and not be able to go. We're trying to think of ways to keep him healthy. So we figured that we needed to know more about diseases and how people get sick.
Well, you've come to the right place. I'm a detective, too, of sorts, a medical detective. And I work here at the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, or CDC for short.
What sort of detective work do you do?
Medical epidemiology. That means I investigate how infectious diseases spread through a population and how to stop the spread. But CDC does epidemiology of many other things, including prevention of birth defects and prevention of injuries.
What exactly is an infectious disease?
Well, first you need to know a little bit about bacteria, viruses, and other microorganisms. As we're standing here, we are not alone. We're covered inside and out with millions of microorganisms.
What are microorganisms? With millions of them, I hope they're not all bad.
But that word is just taken from a Latin word that means tiny living beings. And no, they're not all bad. Most of them are harmless, and some of them are even very helpful to us.
That's good. Are viruses and bacteria microorganisms?
Yes, some microorganisms are one-celled. They're called bacteria. You can't see them with the naked eye, but you can see them with a light microscope. Viruses are so small that they can only be seen with an electron microscope.
Other than size, how do bacteria differ?
Bacteria have cell walls and a nucleus with both DNA and RNA, which are the building blocks for replicating. Viruses only have DNA or RNA, not both. Another difference is that there are medicines called antibiotics that can cure most infectious diseases caused by bacteria. However, there are very few medicines that can treat diseases caused by viruses.
How does a person get an infectious disease?
By being exposed to a bacteria or virus, but not everyone who is exposed gets infected.
Why not?
If the microorganism gets past the body's defense mechanisms, then the person may become infected and they may become sick. This is called an infectious disease. We've all had infectious diseases in our lives: colds, pneumonia, chickenpox, and even some cancers.
Sounds like infectious diseases are very serious.
Yes, some are. Infectious diseases kill more people on Earth than wars and accidents causing injuries. Yet some are so mild that after a little scratchy throat or a dry patch of skin, they're gone.
How do they spread?
Some are spread by food or water. If people drink or eat contaminated food or water, then they may become infected. Others are spread through the air. When a person speaks or coughs, the microorganisms become airborne, and then other people breathe them in.
So that's why it's important to cover your mouth when you cough.
Yes, and many others are spread through direct contact. So if a person has pink eye or a cold and they touch their eye or nose and then they touch another person's hand, they can transmit those microorganisms.
So that's why it's important to wash your hands often.
Yes, especially before eating. Just 15 seconds of washing your hands with warm water and soap can prevent so much spread of infectious diseases.
Thanks, Dr. Beck-Sage.
You're welcome.
Let's see. I need pajamas, toothbrush, sleeping bag, air purifier. I have to have an air purifier.
What about surgical masks? Don't doctors use them to prevent spreading germs?
Good idea. You should get some of those for you guys to wear.
I was actually thinking about you wearing one.
I'm not sick. I don't think I'm sick. So I've come up with a hypothesis for my problem. If I quarantine myself in the treehouse, I can't get sick.
I think it's too soon for a hypothesis. I think we need to learn more about how quarantines really work. I'll contact NASA Johnson Space Center and see if they can help.
Good idea.
Oh, here's an email from Bianca with notes from our meeting with Dr. D.
98.7. I think that's still okay.
Miss Stevens from Johnson Space Center just emailed us and said she'll be happy to talk to us.
Great, let's dial her up.
Hi, Miss Stevens. Thanks for responding to our email.
No problem. How can I help you today?
As I mentioned in the email, Jacob is worried about getting sick before his vacation. We're considering quarantining him in the treehouse.
How does a quarantine work?
Quarantine is a designated period of time for a person to stay away from other individuals and vice versa.
How do you make sure the people who come around the astronauts are not sick?
NASA created the Health Stabilization Program, or HSP for short. This program develops an awareness among all NASA personnel, crew families, and other guests of the importance of protecting a flight crew from infectious diseases.
How does it work?
During the quarantine period, individuals that must have contact with the flight crew are badged as primary contacts, or PCs. They're medically screened beforehand and monitored for illness.
How long are the astronauts quarantined?
A quarantine, the time of limited contact, begins 7 days prior to a launch and extends through the actual launch date. This period may be extended depending on many factors.
We're having a flu outbreak in our town. Would that affect the length of the quarantine?
Yes, if there's an outbreak of illness in the community, we could lengthen the stay. It also depends on the crew's immunity to some illnesses. For the 7 days prior to the launch, the PCs are the only ones that can be within 6 feet of the crew. They also need to minimize their contact with the flight crew as much as possible. Meetings should be held in large areas to maintain adequate spacing of people. Shaking hands and embracing of the flight crew should be minimized as much as possible.
We certainly don't have to worry about embracing.
PCs must also wash their hands before meeting with the flight crew. And most importantly, if a PC becomes ill, they should not have contact with the flight crew at all.
It sounds like quarantine is the answer to my problem. Thanks, Miss Stevens. You've been a lot of help.
You're welcome. Good luck with your quarantine, and I hope you stay well. Email if you need anything else.
According to Miss Stevens, we don't exactly need a complete quarantine.
You're right. What we need is our own health stabilization program.
What?
Each and every treehouse detective must be certified as healthy before entering the treehouse each day.
Certified healthy?
Yes, I'll get started on a checklist right away.
I've got to get home to study for a math test.
I've got a lot to do to get my health stabilization program up and running.
So what's up? What will the Petri dishes tell Jacob about the treehouse? How will Jacob avoid infectious diseases? Is quarantine the answer? Find out next time in The Case of the Biological Biosphere.
Don't forget to look for the answers to the following questions. What various tissues make up the skin? What are 3 kinds of bacteria? What is an epidemic?
Are you sure you have everything?
This should be it. By the way, thanks for wearing the badges, but don't forget to remove them if you start feeling sick.
Day 1. Subject is happy, confident, and cooperative.
I don't know how you could be so calm. Kaylee said in her notes from the CDC that viruses and bacteria can attack our bodies in so many different ways.
Don't forget what Dr. D said about airborne microbes. Have you checked the Petri dish?
Guys, this is real simple. I'm healthy, you're healthy. As long as I stay here, I'm fine. I'm sure that my hypothesis is correct.
Subject's way too confident.
Well, it does say here that some bacteria can be good for you.
Like I said, I should be fine.
Jacob, we still have a lot to learn about the body and how it defends itself from these attacks.
She's right. Know that viruses and infections attack cells, but I'm not sure what a cell is exactly.
Do you have your encyclopedia?
Let me see. I have A, D, and Q, but no C.
You're slipping, RJ.
Well, wait a minute. Dr. Textbook has something about the body. Check it out.
Hello. Welcome to another demonstration of my technological brilliance. I have modified this ordinary television set to look inside the human body to see how the human body works. First, let's start with the respiratory system, which helps us to breathe. Oxygen is brought into our body through the mouth, nose, and trachea into the lungs, where it can be absorbed into the bloodstream. Next, we have the circulatory system. This system includes the heart, which pumps the oxygenated blood wherever it is needed in the body through a vast network of arteries, veins, and capillaries. Boy, this demonstration is hard work, and it's beginning to make me hungry, which leads to the digestive system. This system uses the teeth, mouth, esophagus, stomach, intestines, and more to help the body take the nutrients from the food we eat, yum yum, and turn it into energy. And before we look at the other body systems, I'm going to boost the power of my latest invention to see what makes the body really tick. Not a very good idea.
Dr. Textbook is too funny. I hope he finds himself.
Me too. And he sure has given us a lot to think about.
I didn't realize that the body was made up of so many different and complex systems.
That's right. I mean, you're probably one good infection away from something really devastating.
What?
What RJ meant to say was that we need to learn more about how cells work to protect themselves.
Just to be safe.
Hi, Dr. D.
Hi, kids.
We need to learn more about cells and how they operate. Can you help us?
Sure. A cell is a basic building block of the body. And your body has about 10 trillion cells.
10 trillion? That's a 1 followed by 13 zeros. That's a lot.
Well, here's some examples of cells you might find in your body. This nerve cell is long and has a lot of branches. It's very different from this white blood cell. What do they both have in common?
Well, it looks like they all have that thing in the middle.
That thing in the middle is called the nucleus. They also have a membrane which holds the cells together. And this semi-fluid region inside of each cell is called the cytoplasm.
That's cool. Over there you have what looks like a lot of cells together. What's that called?
Cells of the same structure and function that are grouped together are called tissue, like this muscle tissue, or like this tissue, which is the outer layer of the skin.
The skin model looks like shingles on a roof.
Very good. It's designed to keep moisture in and microbes out. Now, when you combine various tissues together, you get an organ.
You mean like a heart or the lung?
Exactly. Now, here's a model of the largest organ in the body.
It looks like skin.
It is. Now, when you combine two or more organs that have a common task, they're called an organ system.
Dr. Textbook mentioned something about body systems.
Let's look at this human torso as an example. This is the digestive system. It starts with the teeth, the tongue and salivary glands, then the esophagus, then the stomach and the intestines. They all work together to digest food.
The body is very complex.
Yes, it is. It's amazing how the systems work together for the good of the body. The body works really hard to keep itself in homeostasis.
Wait a minute, Dr. D. That's a big word.
Okay. Homeostasis means keeping the body's internal environment, like its temperature, fairly constant. It has what are called feedback controls that act to reverse any changes. It's like a thermostat. Let me show you how a thermostat works. When I heat up this bimetal strip, it bends upward. When it touches this rod, it makes an electrical connection, which turns on this fan and cools things down. Then when the metal becomes cooler, it straightens out and breaks the electrical connection and turns off the fan.
That's pretty cool, but what does it have to do with the body?
When the body heats up, the feedback controls cause the body to perspire and the blood vessels near the skin dilate or get larger in diameter. When the perspiration evaporates, it cools the body. And the increased blood flow through the larger vessels also releases more heat.
So when these things cool the body down, the perspiration stops and the blood vessels return to normal?
That's right.
So are different body systems affected differently?
Yes, some systems like the digestive and the respiratory systems are more susceptible to infection. Do you know why?
I guess we all have to eat and breathe, and viruses and bacteria can get into the food that we eat and the air that we breathe.
That's right.
Thanks, Dr. D, but we still need to learn more about how cells are infected.
I thought you might. When you take your petri dishes to Mr. Frank at TCC this afternoon, you can also ask him about infection.
Great. Thanks, Dr. D.
You're welcome. Let me know what you find out.
Hi, are you Mr. Greg Frank?
Yes, you must be the treehouse detectives. I hear you have some petri dishes for me to look at.
This is the one from the treehouse. This is the control dish.
It looks like you've been very careful in labeling these dishes.
We made sure that each dish was only open for 10 minutes at the same time of day, so that any microbes would have the same chance of growing.
And to make sure we were manipulating only one variable, we've kept them together for the last 24 hours.
So they have the same growing conditions.
Let's take a look at them under this dark field colony counter. It will illuminate the colonies and make them larger.
Wow, this is pretty cool. I count 45 colonies in the treehouse dish. I couldn't see anything yesterday. What's happened?
Individual bacterial cells are so small they're hard to see with your eye and even some microscopes. However, they grow so rapidly that over a 24-hour period they grow from 1 to 1,000 cells, and that's what you're seeing in these colonies.
There are about 15 colonies in my dish.
The control dish doesn't have any colonies.
Why do you think the treehouse has more colonies?
I think it has something to do with the fact that the treehouse is outside.
That could be one reason.
Dr. D warned us that it's hard to control everything.
Perhaps the treehouse is not as isolated as you thought.
We know that microbes like bacteria and viruses cause diseases, but we don't know much about them. Can you tell us about microbes?
It would be very difficult to show you viruses since they are so small, but let's take a look at some bacteria. We can remove them from the inside of your mouth with this swab.
RJ told us that there's bacteria inside us all the time, even when we're not sick.
Let's rub this on a clean microscope slide. Before we look at it, let's stain the cells so we can see them better. Let's magnify this 1,000 times and project it up onto the TV monitor.
There are lots of different shapes. What's the round one?
That's a bacteria that we call a coccus.
That one looks like a cylinder. What's it called?
Yes, we call that a rod shape or a bacillus bacteria.
That bacteria is round, but it's in chains.
Yes, we call that a streptococcus.
Is that like strep throat? Does that mean I'm sick?
Not necessarily. There are other bacteria that look like the strep throat kind, but they're actually beneficial to us.
Are you saying that bacteria can be helpful?
Most bacteria are good, and in fact, we couldn't survive without them.
I never thought about bacteria being good.
Think about termites. As you know, termites eat wood, but they cannot digest it. It is the bacteria in their gut that digests the wood. This is also true of our own stomachs, where a bacteria known as E. coli helps us digest our own food and produce vitamins.
What about the bad bacteria?
Some bacteria enters our cells and destroys them from within. Others produce very deadly toxins like botulism.
If bacteria can multiply so fast and cause such damage to the body, how do we survive?
The body has its own defense system to fight off disease. It's called the immune system, and most of the time, it keeps us pretty healthy.
Sounds like we need to learn more about the immune system.
Thanks, Mr. Frank.
You're welcome. Good luck, and come back if you need anything else.
Let's see it. Oh, sorry about that. Here it is. As usual, I'm perfectly fit. Which is more than I can say about this treehouse. Don't worry, I'll clean it up. By the way, I talked to Bianca and Kaylee about meeting with Dr. D and Mr. Frank. Jacob, I think you need to take this a little more seriously. You may be right, but I feel fine, and I'm sticking to my hypothesis. If I don't come into contact with sick people, I can stay healthy.
After reading Kaylee and Bianca's notes, there must be more to staying healthy than setting up quarantines and avoiding people who are sick.
According to Dr. D and Mr. Frank, that's what the immune system does. What is the immune system?
I was just reading something on the immune system. Oh, here it is. It says that the immune system is made up of bone marrow, the thymus, the lymphatic system, and the tonsils and spleen.
Wow.
And it's responsible for protecting the body from viral and bacterial infections.
I think we need to do some more research on the immune system.
Let's go to the problem board. Okay, what do we know?
We know that everyone is healthy, and I've established a quarantine and health stabilization program. We also know that the body is made up of different systems that are constantly being attacked by bacteria and viruses.
On a cellular level.
And the body protects itself with the immune system.
Okay, what do we need to know?
We need to know more about the immune system and how it works.
Okay, where do we go?
Well, I'm going to Houston. That isn't going to help us much. Oh, ye of little faith. I'm going to Houston to attend a Young Investors Convention. However, I'm consulting my contacts at NASA Johnson Space Center. I bet they can help.
That's great.
We can still do more research on the internet. Could you print off a website evaluation sheet?
Go to the NASA Sci Files website to get your website evaluation sheet. It's a great tool to use while conducting research on the internet.
And I'll try to bring my encyclopedia tomorrow.
And if everyone follows the rules of my quarantine, I should be fine.
And now, I've got to go pack for Houston.
Later, Tony. What about the Sci Files Kids Club? Will they be able to help out?
Good idea. I'll contact Sweet. They work with classrooms all over the country.
That's right. They've helped us before.
Cool. Miss Tholen is online. I'll instant message her. It says that 6B Elementary School in Key West, Florida is doing an experiment on bacteria.
You don't think I could catch something through the transmission, do you?
Don't worry. Here they are now.
Hi, I'm Kia. And I'm Justin. You must be the treehouse detectives.
Yes, we are. And I'm trying to avoid infectious bacteria.
We need to learn more about how infectious diseases spread.
We can help. Our mentor from the Society of Women Engineers helped us with a great experiment that simulates an epidemic.
An epidemic occurs when the majority of people in a group all get an infectious disease. How do you simulate an epidemic?
First, our teacher, Miss Fracker, prepared the test tubes for each student. All the test tubes had water in them except for one, which had a solution of ammonia, but we didn't know which one was which.
Why only one?
To simulate the student who has the cold virus.
What did you do next?
We each use an eyedropper to exchange 4 drops of fluid with 4 other people to simulate an exchange of body fluids, such as eating or drinking after another person. We also made sure to record the name of the person we exchanged the fluid with.
Why was that important?
We wanted to see if we could trace the virus back to the original person.
How could you tell who was infected?
After we finished exchanging the fluids, Miss Fraga added 100 drops of an indicator made from cabbage leaves to our test tubes. If the test tube was infected, it changed color to yellow, green, blue, or purple.
Why the different colors?
The color differences were due to the amount of ammonia in each test tube. The infected test tube turned yellow, and the ones with the next greatest amount of ammonia turned green. The ones that were only slightly infected with ammonia turned blue, and the ones that weren't infected at all turned purple.
I understand. The test tubes with the most ammonia had the most exposure to the cold virus.
That's correct. That particular student had exchanged or been exposed to the virus more than the other students.
How many students were infected at the end of the experiment?
12 out of 15 students were infected. That's 80% that contracted the cold virus.
It's good to know that not all students were infected.
Yes, it is. And it's even better to know that you can prevent the spread of disease by not exchanging body fluids with other people. To be safe, it's best not to eat or drink after anyone and to try to avoid contact with sick people.
That's good advice. Thanks for all your help.
You're welcome. Anytime. Good luck, Jacob. Hope you stay well.
And thanks to SWE for all their help.
Goodbye from 6B Elementary School in Key West, Florida.
That was a cool experiment.
It's scary to think how we can be infected and not even know it.
Yes, but not everyone was exposed to the bacteria, so there is some hope.
This research is making me hungry.
Are you gonna be okay tonight?
I'll be fine.
Okay, well, see you tomorrow.
See you later, RJ.
So what's up? How can Jacob prevent an infection to his respiratory and digestive systems? What can Jacob do to help his immune system? How can Jacob avoid becoming a victim of the flu epidemic? Stay tuned for the answer in the next exciting chapter of The Case of the Biological Biosphere.
Don't forget to look for the answers to the following questions. What is the immune system? How can you strengthen the immune system? What is mucus and how does it help protect the body from infection?
Here's your payment, Zeke. I will tell you mine, but you already know it, which kind of freaks me out.
I kept tossing and turning all night. There were animal noises. I had weird dreams. It was an awful, miserable night.
Subject is very tired.
Have you had any breakfast?
No. I accidentally stepped on my Pop-Tarts in the middle of the night. Now I can't find them. They were probably eaten by some wild raccoon.
Subject is tired, disoriented, and grumpy.
I'm not grumpy.
Subject is very grumpy.
Well, at least you still have your health.
But if you want to keep it, you're gonna have to get some rest and some decent food.
Speaking of health, let's see those badges.
These badges are great, but we still don't know very much about the immune system.
Have we heard from Tony yet?
Not yet. I talked to my mom about it, and she said we should talk to an immunologist.
Immunologist? What's that?
It's a doctor that specializes in the immune system. I'll see if I can look one up on the internet.
And I'll help you straighten up. This place is a mess.
Only one day to go. After today.
Guys, my mom found a specialist on the immune system.
I'm sure the immune system is important, but I still think my health stabilization program is working great. I'm going to be...
I can't believe that Jacob actually kicked you out of the treehouse.
He may be healthy, but he has cabin fever really bad.
I'm just glad Dr. Ziliax agreed to meet with us at our office. Hi, you must be Dr. Ziliax. We're the treehouse detectives.
Hello. Glad you could come. I hear you need to learn more about the immune system.
Yes, we're trying to figure out how to help Jacob stay well.
What exactly is the immune system?
The immune system is a body-wide coordinated group of cells that help protect you against serious infection. These cells act like an army to help defend us against attack from dangerous germ invaders.
Where are these cells located?
Well, with most body systems, there's a large part that you can point to, like your brain or your heart or your lungs. But with the immune system, it's not found in just one place. These cells travel throughout your body.
So how does the immune system work?
Well, the immune system's made up of lots of different small cells. These cells have some funny names like neutrophils, eosinophils, and lymphocytes.
Those are funny names. What do they mean?
Well, those are actually Greek and Latin names that describe what these cells look like under the microscope.
Why does your body have more than one kind of cell to fight off infection?
Well, just like an army has different kinds of soldiers, each of these cells has their own special job. They cruise around quietly through your bloodstream, waiting to get a call into action. When an infection occurs, they swarm in at the site of the infection, ready to defend you against the germ.
The cells sound like they are really important in helping our body fight off infections and diseases. Is there any way that you could strengthen your immune system to make it work better?
There are things you can do to keep your immune system strong and healthy. You need to certainly eat right and get plenty of sleep and exercise.
Is there anything else you can do?
Well, there is another trick to keep your immune system smart and strong, and that's to get all the immunizations that the doctors give you when you're young.
What is an immunization?
Well, immunizations are also called vaccines. They're either weakened forms of the germ or germ parts that help protect us against dangerous infectious diseases.
How do they work?
Well, when a vaccine enters the body, it shows your immune system important parts of the germ, and that allows your immune system to create specialized proteins called antibodies.
If the vaccine puts germs in our bodies, why don't we get sick?
Well, it's just enough germ exposure to help us build antibodies, not enough to actually have you get sick. Then later, when that germ tries to enter your body, there's lots of good stockpiled antibodies available to fend off infection from that particular germ.
Can you get immunized for all illnesses?
Well, no, not every infection can be prevented in this way. First, scientists have to learn an awful lot about the germ and exactly how it's built to be able to make a vaccine that coaxes your immune system into making the right antibodies.
I wish they had a vaccine for the common cold.
Well, I do too, but with the cold, it's just you and your immune system battling it out against the cold germ. So for now, to avoid colds, it's best to do everything you can to keep your immune system as healthy as possible.
That's right. You need to rest, eat right, and sleep. I think Jacob needs to rethink his quarantine idea.
Thanks, Dr. Ziliax. You've been a lot of help.
You're welcome. Call if you have any other questions.
Bye.
Bye.
Dr. D said that he would meet us here. He's been to some pretty weird places, but this really takes the cake. Look at that nose. Gross. Dr. D?
Hi, kids.
Cats and I just talked to Dr. Ziliax. She told us that the body has a number of ways of protecting itself from infection, but we need to know some other ways the body defends itself.
Well, you're in the right place. This grossology exhibit here at the Virginia Marine Science Museum is a perfect spot to investigate some of the gross ways the body protects itself, like snot and vomit.
What does vomit have to do with protecting your body? I think I know. If you eat something that might harm the body, then the body gets rid of it as fast as possible.
Very good. Poisons, bacteria, and viruses can upset the stomach and cause an upchuck. Oh, here's some vomit right here.
You're kidding.
Well, it's just fake vomit. In fact, it's edible.
Gross. Kids, don't try this at home.
Real vomit is a combination of food, stomach acid, mucus, and other stuff. Let's talk about mucus.
You mean what we call snot?
That's right. Mucus is a slimy liquid that traps microbes, along with dust and other foreign particles.
I read on a website that bodily fluids like mucus, saliva, and tears contain enzymes that kill bacteria.
That's right. These fluids are found in the nose, eyes, and mouth, which are the easiest places for microbes to enter the body. Do you know that you swallow about a quart of snot every day?
Did you have to tell us that?
Nose mucus or snot traps invading microbes like bacteria, viruses, and fungus spores. Little hairs called cilia then push the snot toward the back of the nose and into the throat where you swallow it. When it ends up in the stomach, stomach acid kills a lot of the dangerous microbes.
We have acid in our stomach?
Yes, we do. Hydrochloric acid. It's not only deadly to certain microbes, it also aids in digestion. It's pretty strong stuff. Watch as this acid dissolves this piece of zinc.
So why doesn't our stomach get dissolved?
The stomach also creates that magic stuff called mucus. This time the mucus is a protective coating for the stomach. Here's some mucus right here.
Ugh, please tell me that's fake mucus.
Okay, I admit it is. It's made of corn syrup and gelatin, but it has a lot of the same characteristics and ingredients of real mucus.
I hate to ask, but what are some other ways the body defends itself?
Something as simple as a sneeze can expel infected mucus from the nose at a speed of up to 100 miles an hour.
Wow, that's fast. I guess the cough does the same thing.
Yes, it does, but a cough is expelling particles and microblade mucus out of the throat and lungs.
We learned at the Centers for Disease Control that coughing is also a way to spread diseases.
One more example. What do you know about sweat?
We learned in school that it helps to cool the body when you get overheated.
Very good. Did you also know that it provides food for bacteria and fungi that live on the surface of the skin?
I don't want bacteria living on my skin. Mr. Frank told us about good bacteria. Is that what you're talking about?
Indeed. This good bacteria munches on sweat and oil on the skin and produces acidic waste products. These acids make it difficult for invading harmful bacteria to survive on the skin.
So bacteria is part of the immune system.
Yes, it acts as a barrier to harmful bacteria.
It's a good thing the body has lots of ways of defending itself. I think we have a new hypothesis. If Jacob stays away from people who are sick and strengthens his immune system with rest, good nutrition, and exercise, then he'll stay healthy. Thanks, Dr. D.
You're welcome. Enjoy the exhibit.
Jacob? Jacob, I have good news. All you need to is...
All I need is to see your badge.
You don't understand. You're fine. I just read Kaylee and Bianca's revised hypothesis, and they say that you just can't quarantine yourself. You have to strengthen your immune system.
How do I do that?
All you have to do is get plenty of sleep and eat the right food.
Great.
What are you doing?
I'm just relaxing. Here by the pool.
Subject is groggy and delusional. Hey, Jacob, wake up. KSNN is coming on.
Good morning. I'm Ted Toon. It seems that the microphone flu has caught up with this reporter. The CDC recommends that to keep from getting sick, be sure to stay away from sick people and wash your hands often. And if you are sick, please cover your mouth when you cough. I'm Ted Toon.
Jacob, I know you put a lot of stock into your health stabilization program, but you still need to take care of yourself.
What can I do? I'm too tired to exercise, and my next meal isn't for a couple hours.
Time for the problem board. Okay, what do we know?
We know that the immune system helps protect the body from infection.
Right. And we also know that the immune system can either be strengthened or weakened by diet and sleep.
So what do we need to know?
We need to know more about how to strengthen the immune system.
So where do we go?
Tony's meeting Beth Shepard at the NASA Johnson Space Center in Houston. I'll email him and send him a copy of the Get Up and Go sheet and problem board. Visit the NASA Sci Files website for your own Get Up and Go sheet and problem board.
So what's up? Is Jacob weakening his immune system? Is the health stabilization program working? What else can Jacob do to stay healthy? Find out next time in the conclusion of The Case of the Biological Biosphere.
Answer these final questions and help solve the case of the biological biosphere. What are physiological losses? What are endorphins and how do you get them? What do astronauts do when they get sick in space?
Hi, Mr. Shepard.
Hi, you must be Tony. I understand you have some questions for me.
Yes, our friend Jacob quarantined himself in the treehouse to avoid getting sick, but we don't think that's a very good idea. Isn't exercise important for staying healthy?
Yes, exercise is very important in maintaining a healthy body. As the lead astronaut, strength conditioning, and rehabilitation specialist here at Johnson Space Center, my main responsibility is to design and implement strength and conditioning programs for the astronaut corps so they can remain healthy here on Earth and in space.
Astronauts exercise in space?
Yes, but it begins here on Earth. There are 3 segments to the astronaut fitness program. First, there is the pre-flight training phase, where we work on improving the astronauts' weaknesses and enhancing their strengths.
With only microgravity in space, why do astronauts have to be strong?
Sometimes astronauts need to perform an extravehicular activity, or EVA for short. This is where they go outside the spacecraft and sometimes work on a satellite or the space station. An EVA is very strenuous work, and it requires a lot of strength.
What is the second segment of training?
Well, the second segment is in-flight training, where the astronaut focuses on maintaining or increasing their level of fitness and limiting their physiological losses.
What are physiological losses?
Living in a microgravity environment can cause bone and muscle loss, a reduction in cardiovascular responses, and a decrease in the neuromuscular system. Exercise can help decrease those losses and can even make you feel better mentally by increasing your endorphins or your happy hormones.
Why does your body lose bone and muscle in space?
In a microgravity environment, everything is floating, including yourself. And it makes living pretty easy since you don't have to lift, pull, or push very much. Therefore, the body tells itself that it doesn't need to keep the muscles strong or the bones dense. And the heart figures out that it doesn't need to work very hard since the blood can float where it needs to go.
How do astronauts exercise in space?
On the International Space Station, there's a cycle ergometer, a treadmill, and a weightlifting device. Astronauts exercise about 2.5 hours a day.
Wow, that must help.
Exercise is very important in maintaining a healthy body and a good mental attitude at all times.
Thank you, Mr. Shepard. You've given us a lot of information.
You're welcome. And call if you need any help putting together a fitness program for Jacob.
There isn't anything wrong with the quarantine.
Nothing at all.
It's just that you're not doing yourself any good by staying here.
Losing sleep, skipping meals, it's just making it more difficult for your body to fight off possible infections.
And don't forget about what we saw in the Petri dish. There's no telling how much bad bacteria is floating around in here.
RJ?
But I'm sure you're fine.
Anyway, we all think the best thing to do is to head home and get some sleep.
And get some decent food in your system.
Maybe you're right. I could use some good food.
Right.
And since your suit isn't connected to an external air supply, you're only protected for about 5 minutes.
And I'm sure I'll sleep better in my own bed.
We just want you to be in the best possible shape to enjoy your vacation.
Plus, rescheduling a vacation can cost a lot of unnecessary cash and additional fees.
Okay, you guys. You win. I'm heading home. Wait, what about your project? Isn't my leaving gonna upset your results?
I'll be fine. Believe me, we've gathered plenty of data.
Oh, okay. See you guys later.
Bye.
Now all we have to do is figure out how to keep Jacob healthy during his trip.
What do you mean?
I was doing some research on the Dry Tortugas, and it turns out that before it was a national park, Fort Jefferson used to be a prison.
Okay, but what does that have to do with Jacob's health?
They had several serious outbreaks of yellow fever. It says here that Dr. Samuel Mudd helped save many lives during an outbreak of yellow fever, which eventually led to Dr. Mudd's pardon.
Who was Dr. Mudd?
He's the doctor who set the leg of John Wilkes Booth, the man who assassinated President Lincoln.
Wow. But I doubt Jacob will have to worry about yellow fever.
No, but RJ does have a point. Even if Jacob is healthy once he leaves, he might run into some sort of epidemic. He needs to stay healthy once he gets there.
And getting sick at the Dry Tortugas would be no picnic.
Jacob certainly can't quarantine himself on vacation.
No, you're right. I've got an idea.
So what's your idea?
Beth Shepard works with astronauts. I bet they can tell us about how they stay healthy during space flights.
Good idea. I'll also try to phone my doctor. She may be able to help as well.
Jacob doesn't leave till tomorrow. We'll have to be sure to tell him everything we learned. Be sure to print off a Get Up and Go sheet from the NASA Sci Files website. We don't want to forget to record everything we learned.
Mrs. Shepard says we should email Dr. Baker. She's an actual astronaut.
That's awesome. KSNN is coming on.
Good morning. This is Wally Blubber for KSNN. And Ted Toon is sick as a dog. Hey! The doctor says that Ted will be fine in a few days. The microphone flu is a virus, and it just has to run its course, letting the white blood cells do their job. To make sure you don't get sick, be sure to eat right, exercise, and get plenty of rest. Right, Ted? And it might be a good idea to stay away from contaminated microphones. Uh-oh.
Guys, I just got an email from Dr. Baker.
Great, let's dial her up.
Hello, Dr. Baker. We're the Treehouse Detectives.
Hi, hey, I read your email about Jacob. How can I help you?
We're trying to figure out how to stay healthy in different environments.
We were wondering if you could tell us what it's like to work in space.
Isn't it tough working in such a small place?
The space station is actually quite big, and it's quite easy to work here. You'd be amazed at how roomy it is. It's like a laboratory on Earth. The space shuttle is a lot smaller, and it has some challenges, but actually it's quite easy, even with 6 or 7 other crew members, to get your work done.
Have you ever been sick during a space shuttle mission?
Actually, I've been very lucky. I haven't, but it's quite common the first couple of days for astronauts to feel a little bit sick, very much like seasickness, but for the most part, people are pretty healthy in space. We go into space healthy, and we try and stay healthy when we get there by getting a lot of rest and exercising and eating good food.
Diet, exercise, and proper rest seem to be important to good health in every environment.
What happens if someone does get sick in space?
We're prepared for all sorts of things. We carry a first aid kit that has a lot of medical material in it, pills and bandages, things like that. We also are able to talk to a doctor on the ground anytime we need to.
What if the illness or injury is really serious?
If somebody got very sick, like somebody had a heart attack or needed surgery, we would have to return them to Earth to have the proper medical procedure done.
Do you have to have special medical training to go into space?
Well, actually, we always train at least 2 crew members in medical procedures, so even the pilot, who might be the chief medical officer, would know how to put stitches in if that became necessary, or give injections, or place a bandage, or even stabilize a fractured bone if something like that happened.
Is it more difficult to treat patients in space?
Well, the simple things are still simple. Drawing blood or giving a shot, putting a bandage or a Band-Aid on, even taking medications are fairly simple. We don't know about other medical procedures, for example, performing surgery, and that is something that we'll have to learn about if we ever expect maybe to go back to the moon or to go to Mars.
What happens to the body during spaceflight?
Well, there's lots of things that happen to the body. I like to think that it's the body's normal reaction to an unusual environment. environment. The fluids in your body shift around, your face gets a little puffy, your heartbeat changes a little bit, but really you feel quite normal, very much the way you do on Earth.
Thanks, Dr. Baker.
Well, you're quite welcome, and tell Jacob to stay away from the junk food.
Being an astronaut must be awesome.
I wonder how much it costs to build the mock-up of the ISS.
Guys, don't forget that we have talked to Jacob and let him know how to prepare for his trip.
Right, and then we need to go see Dr. D.
Hi, kids. Oh, by the way, RJ, here's a sea encyclopedia you were looking for.
Thanks.
So, how are you doing, or should I say, how is Jacob doing?
Jacob left this morning, and he's fine.
We think we figured out how to keep him healthy.
Great. Is it a sure thing?
Now, Dr. D, we know better than that. You taught us that it's almost impossible to control all of the variables.
Well, at least we know all the variables now.
We learned that diseases are caused by microbes, such as bacteria and viruses.
Yes, and we also learned that diseases are spread in a number of different ways, like through the air or by direct contact.
Jacob tried to stay away from people. He thought that that would prevent him from catching anything.
And of course you can't avoid all people, so he tried to only have well people visit him.
But even that wasn't a perfect plan, because we found microbes in the treehouse.
Then we learned about the immune system, which is how the body protects itself against infection from invading microbes.
But the treehouse weakened his immune system.
How did the treehouse do that?
Well, actually, it wasn't the treehouse. It was no exercise, poor nutrition, and lack of sleep.
Oh, I see.
We learned that you need a strong, properly nourished body to fight off diseases.
We thought about getting Jacob immunizations, but he can't be immunized for everything.
It also takes weeks for the body to build up its defenses against a particular disease after immunization. And you didn't have that much time.
We learned that even gross stuff, like mucus and saliva, can help us stay healthy. We learned that we just needed to have confidence that the body could take care of itself.
Our final plan consisted of a good diet, plenty of exercise, and a good night's sleep.
It also included Jacob washing his hands frequently and avoiding contact with sick people.
It sounds like you really did your homework. Did it work?
So far Jacob is well, and we really hope that he stays well.
I thought Bianca was coming over with you today.
Oh, she couldn't make it. She's sick.
It's just a cold.
I hope she gets better soon.
We do too.
We also wish that we were going on vacation with Jacob.
Yeah, that would be great.
I wonder how he's doing.
And if he's staying healthy.
I'm the king of the world!
It's not odd that you ended up with lots of mariners coming right down through the passage, because you've actually essentially got a 90-mile-wide passageway between Cuba and the islands that we came along today. And that passageway is called the Strait of Florida.
The NASA Science Files was made possible through the generous support of Busch Gardens, SeaWorld, and NASA Langley Research Center's Aerospace Vehicle System Technology Office. Captioning provided by NEC Foundation of America.